My name is Nora Carr, and I'm a translator from the Spanish. Today I'm going to be reading from my translation of an award-winning collection of essays by Mexican writer Alejandra Eme Vázquez, entitled Su cuerpo dejarán, or You'll Leave Your Body Behind. These essays are about Alejandra's experiences working as a caretaker for her elderly grandmother, and they deal with themes of aging, the body, and the labor of caretaking, which, as we know, so often falls to women. I'll be reading a short essay called ¿Qué pasa con el cuerpo?, or What Happens to Your Body. I'll read a brief passage in Spanish first and then the English. Thank you so much for listening. Okay. So, ¿qué pasa con el cuerpo? Una de mis primas trabaja en una clínica de especialistas diversos y así fue como abuela encontró en el Dr. S. a su geriatra de cabecera. El Dr. S. es sumamente parsimonioso y eso implica que a veces nos hace esperar hasta hora y media para entrar a consulta, pero también que garantiza una atención milimétrica no solo en lo físico, sino en lo anímico y lo mental. Yo nunca había visto el proceder de un geriatra, para ser sincera, pero ahora que he incursionado en este mundo y sé de otros abordajes, sí creo que me gustaría tener un médico como el Dr. S. para cuando se me manifieste alguna de las múltiples enfermedades que por genética me puede corresponder, o simplemente para saber si hay algún remedio que me permita seguir siendo lo que yo creo que soy, cuando mi cuerpo ya no esté tan convencido. Okay. What happens to your body? One of my cousins works in a clinic with a bunch of different specialists, and that's how Abuela found Dr. S., her lead geriatrician. Dr. S. is highly meticulous, and this means sometimes we have to wait up to an hour and a half to be seen, but it also guarantees a detailed examination not only of Abuela's body, but also of her mind and of her spirit. To be honest, I'd never witnessed a geriatrician at work, but now that I've entered into this world and am familiar with other medical approaches, I think I'd like to have a doctor like Dr. S. when I develop symptoms of one of the many illnesses to which I'm genetically predisposed, even simply to help me find some remedy that would allow me to continue being the person I think I am when my body is no longer quite so convinced. How's your memory? Dr. S. asks Abuela, who always responds in a tone that makes it seem like everything is under control. I don't blame her. Dr. S.'s questions are uncomfortable even for those of us who hear them from the relatively safe perspective of our mid-30s. They have to do with the deterioration we anticipate in old age, and with his evaluation of that deterioration in Abuela's body. The first time I heard him ask her what 2 plus 2 was, and then for her full address, I wanted to yell at him not to be so condescending, to tell him that Abuela had always read a ton and that his stupid questions were offensive to our entire family. But then I calmed down, first of all because we were in his office and I was the only one who looked like she wanted to kill Dr. S., and also because I then understood that these are the ways of a geriatrician, of someone who needs to make sure. He's since told us stories about the many elderly people who only realize their memory is failing precisely when they're unable to recall something they thought was automatic. That's why I am now not only more understanding of his questions, but I even find myself admiring Dr. S. and laughing at his jokes, which is saying a lot. The truth is that sometimes I'd like to put on a nice lab coat and apply this method of interrogation myself. Abuela, who do you think is watching when you iron the little doilies you put under the knickknacks no one is going to notice except for you? What merciless eye is on you when I arrive every Monday at 9 in the morning and find you doing the laundry by hand, even though it's cold out, even though you have a cough, and I have to tell you, no, Abuela, it's not good for you to be doing the laundry like this, as if I had the right to doubt your habits because of some doctor who's only known you as an old woman? Who is it you're getting up for when you leave the armchair in which you've been recovering from near bronchitis to get the 4 different detergents you need to thoroughly scrub the bathroom twice a week, a bathroom that no one else uses but you, and that someone else could clean or not clean, or that could be closed off entirely because this is a big house and you are so fragile, but so stubborn and also so strong? Abuela, do you realize that what you've been doing your whole life is work, real work, and that you have rights like anyone else? Do you realize that? To ask her like Dr. S. does, to understand her like maybe he understands her. Tell me, why? Do you ever cry? He asked during a house call after an earthquake in the city had severely damaged the clinic. This was the time when Abuela's response most surprised me. Yes, she said suddenly. Yes, she did cry. Why? Asked Dr. S. Oh, well, because I remember. What do you remember? A lot of things. These things are her dead sisters, her dead husband, her children both here and not here, her grandchildren, the houses she's lived in, her arthritic hands, her tired eyes, her sewing machine that needs oil, the doorbell she can no longer hear, her aching legs, the kitchen table that welcomes her every morning with at least 2 pills she needs to take in order to function as she should. I'd cry too, I think, and right away I correct myself. I will also cry. We learn from Dr. S that Abuela is extremely healthy. We have to keep in mind, of course, that she's at an age when a lot of people are no longer even in the world at all. He tells her to walk a little more, to work a little less. He doesn't call it work, obviously, but he always seems about to. He asks her why she doesn't go visit her daughter in Spain. Her grandchildren there could help her. But he always reassures us that everything is normal. Dr. S provides us with a perspective we almost never see, that of someone who witnesses many ways of growing old and can offer a promising assessment when he sees someone of almost 90 getting along quite well, both in her own right and in comparison to others. I remember the first time Abuela went to see Dr. S, when I was already taking care of her, and I was nervous because I had the feeling I was about to find out if I was doing my own work well. And I know it doesn't only depend on me, but it seems fair that we can get this feedback, held to account by none other than Abuela's body, there, under the light, speaking for itself. And while we're talking about the body, back before Dr. S had appeared in our midst and my grandfather was still alive, there was an early sign that forced me to see old age up close, and I was unable to look away. I'm referring to the issue of missing teeth, the only expression of aging that makes me uncomfortable since we're sharing. Never does Abuela seem as old as when I see her or hear her speak without her dentures. It's then that I realize she really has lived all these years, and I can't help but think of cartoonish images of old people. This is absolutely my own problem, I know, and it's absurd because as soon as Abuela puts her fake teeth in, she becomes fabulous again, the same as always. I feel ashamed of myself. If there's any point to writing this all down, I hope it means that I can rid myself of this prejudice from I don't know where against fake teeth. They're nothing but logical and legitimate tools in a world that's hell-bent on destroying our bones, especially the ones you can see when we smile. The truth is, I can't imagine what it's like to live inside Abuela's body, and I have to say there have been a lot of surprises. She surprises me both by her physical strength as well as by the creativity with which she negotiates certain limitations. But what also surprises me is the way I immediately assume she can't do something she actually can. It might take her some effort, but she can, and soon enough she can do it more easily. Our perception of old age can be a terrible trap. It puts damaging assumptions about the people around us into our heads. We spend far too long thinking that people can't do certain things because they're too young, and then we barely leave them alone until we start saying they can't do things again because they're too old. We're talking about people who have more unproductive life than productive life, and these people are us. Let the denture games begin. But not all is lost when the beauty of old age is lying in wait just around the corner, ready to amaze you. The day of Abuela's cataract surgery, for example, I was waiting in the lobby of a small hospital when Dr. J, her ophthalmologist, came out to say that the operation had been difficult but that God was on their side, which is irrelevant, but I need to record such an overblown declaration somewhere. Next, he continued, comes the recovery. We already knew this part would be complicated, but all of us in her caretaking network had mentally prepared for it. Then a nurse came out a little later to ask if I could help Abuela get ready to go home, which meant helping her get dressed. I was so nervous, as I imagined she was too, because a grandmother's body is a taboo, and I don't know if that's why when I went in, she'd covered herself with the thin hospital gown, so light that it revealed the beautiful outline of her body, so full of life. What I mean is that her skin, the skin of her arms, her neck, her chest, was so remarkable that I'm talking about it in the sentimental terminology of the canon of Western beauty standards, of Dove ads, of because I'm worth it. Her skin was surprising, and I'm ashamed to admit it because that means I was expecting something else, some other skin much different from this skin that was so taut, so taken care of, so smooth. Not even a trace of the deep wrinkles I'd imagined and for which I'd prepared myself. Its texture seemed somehow ageless, and this moved me. I stood there fascinated for a few seconds, maybe noticeably, maybe not. I can't say for sure. Until I had to do what I'd come in for. But since then, I don't think about Abuela's skin as if it were a fragile shell, not even as if it were old, but rather as a warm, sheltering blanket. Abuela, can I tell you how beautiful you are? Thank you so much for listening. Bye.